Hello and welcome back to another daily cribbage. Let's see who we get today. Okay, it looks like we're against Diane. And we cut a jack, so opponent's the first dealer. And it looks like we want to keep double ace 4 with a 10. So let's do that. We don't need to worry about hitting a double run. And the friendly high. Good luck. So we'll start with the 4. And if we get paired here, we will just go up to 18. But instead, our opponent might be giving us 31. Very nice. Alright, so off to a nice little start. Opponent only has the 6 points in hand, but they do get a big double run in the crib, and everything is about average. So this is the averages that people often say are about 15 and for the dealer and about 10 points for pawn. So we're making that very nicely. Opponent leads a 6, a little bit scary with the 9 on top. But let's see if our opponent has maybe a 2 or a, hopefully no ace here. Okay, and did they have a 5? Yes, they did. Lovely. Okay, opponent didn't manage to offload the 5 until it was too late. So that means that we're only a couple points behind now after the not so amazing crib. And opponent, so what do we want to do here? Double 2, 3, 5. Does have to throw away, or we could go 2, 9, 2, 9 or 3, 5, 7, 9. I'll just go 7, 9. It can't be too far off. And we get to go to 15. And of course the 2 would allow us to play for more points, but it does give away points when the opponent has 5. It also gives away points if our opponent has, say, a 4. And nothing in the crib. Just have a little look here. 2, 9. It's marginally worse, but still pretty reasonable. Okay, this is exciting. Double 6, double 7. We get to throw away ace 4. I think we'll do that. The 5 still combos with us very well. And putting 5 into the crib is great. The 8 on top is beautiful. Absolutely amazing. Let's see if our opponent wants to combo anything. No. See if our opponent has anything left. Yes, of course. They've got some 3s. But they don't have 2 3s, so they don't get a pair, they don't get 31. We could have kept, say, double 6 or double 7, but that's how it goes. I think we might have a little think about that later. Let's come back to this. We can keep 2 3 double 5 or just the usual 3 double 5 7. And I'm going to keep the 3 double 5 7. It allows us to hit some double runs just like that. So let's lead our 3. Also very reasonable to lead the 7. I'll play a 5 here. Opponent sometimes pairs this 5, but of course we hold 2 5s, so it's less common. Opponent showing us all diamonds. They have a 4. No, they've got a 9, but it's a diamond, so they do have the flush. We get a massive hand, and our opponent's hand is pretty nice. So the position here is 67, 61, so opponent does have the chance to catch up a little bit. We have to break up this run a little bit, I think. We could throw away 7, 8, but I prefer throwing away 5, jack. The 3 seems good for our opponent. I'm going to play this 7. If our opponent goes 5, then it can be a little bit scary. And then we're expecting some 2s here, but if they have an ace, which they also do have sometimes, we can get a 15. We don't. Our opponent has 12. That does take them to the milestone, so quite scary for us here. We are slightly ahead, and the computer says we had better there. All right. There's a run of 3, but there's also ace 4, 10 jack, which I kind of like. So What to do here? I think we'll just lead the 10. It's pretty fine. Opponent has 16. We'll come up to 17. Opponent sometimes makes it 27 and gives us that free 31. But they kept the jack at the end, which of course gives them a pair. And that's quite a big crib considering a 2-9 discard. So our opponent's going to very happily make it up to 96 unless something terribly wrong, something goes horribly wrong for them. I think we just have to keep our outs in mind and play for the 8. And yeah, this is pretty rough. I'm just going to pair this 9, fully expect to get tripled here. But we don't, so we're going to play this 3, because I expect our opponent has a lot of 5s with the ace-9. So I didn't want to go to 26 and give them the 31. This does sort of assume that we have good chances against hands that do have a 5 there, but I think we're still in the realms of being able to win here. 6-8 is scarier than 8-queen, but having 10 points is pretty nice. Do we need them? I don't think we actually need them here. I'm going to make a very strange play. And I'm going to lead my 6. I'm going to go to 26. Opponent has a 5. That's kind of rare. I wasn't expecting that. Opponent probably has a lot of 10s left. No, they have 2-3, which gives them a 15. Okay. So 8 points there, 2 points in the crib. Just worthy of note that 6-8 would have been a flush, so the game would have been over if we'd have gone 6-8 there, because the top card was also a club. But our opponent only needs 5 points. They scored well enough that they probably don't have to worry. So we already lose to 2s. We probably already lose to 3s, so if they triple us, that is absolutely fine. But they don't have any 6s. They don't have any 5s plus. So there's a chance here if they only have... Oh, that's not many points at all. Ooh, there's a chance. Do we make it? There we go. That is a good game. We got very lucky there to snipe it at the end. We managed to get quite a lot of points on the play. We lost out a little bit in hand and crib, so it feels pretty good. But let's jump back and let's see if we can learn something about our previous decision. I'm going to focus on 2 decisions. I want to talk a little bit about that 8-queen, which might be mysterious for some people. And also I want to talk about a hand that we had slightly earlier. So this was one of the important moments in the game, and hindsight is really useful here, so we're going to try and avoid saying that 6-8 is a bad discard because of hindsight. Let's understand what's going on. So the score is 97 for us, and our opponent's slightly ahead on 101. It's our opponent's crib, and positionally this means our opponent is extremely happy. They are ahead of their milestone at 96 by 5 points. They're looking to go out after the next dealer plus the next pawn. And they only need 20 points to do that, which is well within normal bounds. So we have to do something kind of special. And when we look at our hand, or when we look at our position, first of all, that something special is probably to play defensively. Why is that? Why can't we play offensively and just score all our points right now? Well, it's not really going to work because we need a really massive hand. We need to get, if we want to go out on the play, which is what we would probably be aiming for here if we want to go out as next round as dealer, we probably want to aim for at least 115 points. It's possible to get 6 points on the play, especially if we get a good deal and we get lots of really nice flexible cards and are able to trap our opponent. However, in order to get to 115 plus, we need to score a lot of points. We need 18 points, and when we look at our hand, it seems like that's a possibility. So if we keep double 5, 10, queen, that is 10 points immediately, and we're sort of banking our hopes on cutting like maybe another 10, jack, queen. And even a king would be pretty good as well. So that would take us from 10 points up to at least 14 points, maybe even 17 points if it's a jack. So that would be one way that we could go here. And I think that that's actually pretty reasonable. On second thoughts, those are quite a lot of outs, right? There's 4 jacks, there's 3 10s, there's 3 queens. That's 10 out of 46 cards we're really happy to see. Maybe the king is also kind of happy. We're happy to see that if we're able to score a few points on the play. So that might take us up to, let's say we're happy half of the time with kings, maybe like, so we're about 12 out of the 46 cuts, which is, over a quarter of the time, we're happy. So that's pretty good. Also, if we cut a 5, I usually don't count 5s in my outs because they're usually better for the dealer. But in this case, the 5 is really good for us. How many points is that? Well, we get 6 for the triple. Oh, we get an extra 4 points for the triple. 6, 8 points takes us up to, I think, 18 points there. So that's pretty good as well. And maybe we're going to go out on the play. The only risky part of us cutting a 5 is our opponent then is much more likely to be getting 20 points as dealer themselves. Getting 20 points as dealer it sounds like a lot, but it definitely happens. So you got to watch out for that, especially if we're throwing 6, 8 into the crib. You can imagine that already if our opponent throws away a 7 and maybe something bad gets cut, say a 9, then already the crib is worth 8 points and our opponent only needs to get another 12 points in order to go out, which they could do using their hand and the play. So what's the other kind of out that we have here? The other out is playing what I think I play. So 8 queen is a discard. I don't think there are any other discards here because as long as we keep the 6 in our hand, it gives us some more ways for our hand to improve dramatically. I'm mostly thinking about the 4, but the 7 is okay. The 7 is only okay because it combos with the 8 that we've thrown into our opponent's crib when we throw away 8 queen. So I much prefer to see a 4, and if we do see a 4, then we get 16 points, and we're in good shape to maybe get a couple points on the play and try and get to about 115 for the next round. And we've also thrown away 8 queen, and 8 queen is quite a good discard for us because it limits the amount of points that our opponent can get in their crib. The queen and the 8 rarely form a combo together. In fact, if you think about it, how could they form a combo together? We probably have to throw away 9, 10, and a jack needs to come up. You need 3 cards in order to complete it to a run. And if your opponent's throwing away those things and getting those cuts, you're already in bad standing no matter what you throw away, even if it was the 6, 8 or the 8 queen. So we don't need to worry about that. It's all good. So throwing away 8 queen here is mostly for safety. And this gives us another chance to hit some outs. So we only have four 4s that we can cut that are particularly good. Okay, well, we could cut cut a 10 as we did in the game and take our score up by at least 10 points, that's quite nice. But mostly what we're hoping to do is to slow our opponent down. If our opponent doesn't get what they want, and in our case, their opponent did actually score pretty well this round. It was the pone afterwards where they were really lacking in points. And one of the things that sort of helps us here is that, some of the time when your opponent doesn't score well in the crib, it just means they score 0. So, which is, of course, a sort of hindsight realization. Anyway, so I think there are arguments for both 6-8 and 8-queen, and I'm curious to hear what you think. But in this case, I went 8-queen and it all worked out, and 6-8, it turns out, would have lost this time, but it doesn't always lose. All right, let's jump back to another moment. And this is the other moment that I want to highlight because it went quite fast in the game. So our opponent led a 9. We reluctantly paired the 9 because I don't think we had any better option. Playing a 7 feels quite bad because it leaves us open to 8s. And playing the 3 doesn't really achieve very much. And if our opponent has a 3, then it's sort of quite bad. Our opponent's also pretty much at their milestone, so we want to limit the number of points they get as much as possible. And we want to, if we can just score a few extra points without it hurting us too much, we'll do that. Reluctantly, we play the 9 because if we get tripled, it's almost over at this point. However, our opponent plays an ace instead, taking us to 19 total, and sort of indicating very heavily that their hand has a 5 in it. Their ace 9-5 makes sense as a hand here for a few reasons. The first one is that ace 9-5, if you have that, then the 9 is the nicest lead. And there are many other cards that you would expect with a 9, like a 6. That might make an even better lead, so we don't expect our opponent to have many 6s, and aces don't really lead very well, and 5s are quite dangerous to lead unless you want to capitalize off your opponent playing a 10. So if you had a 5 with lots of 10s, might be pretty fine, especially considering how far ahead our opponent is. So that leads us to sort of thinking that our opponent has 5 in hand, and so that sort of limits our options right here. If we play either of the 7s, then we take the total to 26, and then our opponent will play their 5 for 31, and if we play our 3, then one of two things is going to happen. If our opponent has their own 2 to get the run, then that means that so let's imagine, so we play the 3, comes up to 22, our opponent plays a 2, gets 3 for the run, and we get to play our 7 on top, which takes us to 31. And so I was just checking that calculation. So playing the 3 is actually the 3 on top of the ace is fine because we've got the 7 as slight compensation. And the other thing is that if our opponent has a 2, then, well, what would we expect our opponent's hand to be? It's sort of a little strange, because maybe the 2 would make for a better lead, especially considering that the 2 was cut. That didn't really cross my mind at the time, but maybe it's something that we can fill in after the game. So the 3 is actually relatively safe for us. It's not the safest, because we do give up 3 points if our opponent does have a 2, but it's a whole lot safer than playing a 7 here. So that's why we go 3, our opponent makes it 27, we say go, and our opponent has another ace left, which is the best turnout for us because it means that we get to play our double 7, get the extra 2 points next round. So I hope that was fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.